Good evening, everyone. I'm Bill Plunkett, Director of Guidance here at Staples, and it's my pleasure to welcome you to our college kickoff night for juniors and families. So as we try and get back into the swing of things after a nice long break, we're grateful that you took the time to come tonight and hope that you find the program to be helpful. Students, we really do care a lot about you guys and are invested in making sure that the next year and a half go as smoothly as possible for you, and that we do all that we can to make sure that you're prepared for whatever it is that your future holds after Staples. Some of what we'll cover tonight you may remember being touched on when we met with you guys in December through your phys ed classes. We want you and your parents to hear the same information so that you can use what you learn as a common starting point for conversations that you may be having at home. We're fortunate we have a lot of experience on our staff, and having worked with as many families as we have over the years, we know how essential it is for students and their families to maintain an open, trusting, and respectful dialogue throughout this process. Students, you're going to hear us emphasize throughout how this is really your process, and we're going to support you in that. At the same time, it's important for you to know that there are adults in your life to turn to and who could provide invaluable perspective along the way. As you listen to the presentation, remember that we're speaking in general terms to start, and yet we do value the fact that each individual student's situation and post-high school planning process is completely unique. You may be in a very different place right now from the family sitting next to you and move at a different pace, and that's 100% okay. Your interests, your goals, your strengths, and your needs are yours alone. We get how hard it is for parents and students to not get swept up in what everyone else is doing or saying is the right approach, but we've seen time and again that if you focus on what is best for you, you're going to find that things do have a way of working out. Moving forward, we'll soon be starting to meet with each junior and their family individually to discuss where you are in your thinking about your future, what's important to you, and what you can do to get where you want to be. Ultimately, what we want is for students to find the right fit for after Staples, academically, but also personally and financially, and you'll hear that emphasized throughout tonight. You've received some materials at the door, including our presentation notes for tonight and a post-high school planning guide. Use this resource. It has answers to many of the questions that I know that you'll have, as does our website, Naviance, and the many, many emails that you'll be receiving from us in the months ahead. If it's helpful for you to go back and see again, or if you have friends who couldn't make it tonight, we are filming tonight's program and we'll have it posted on our website soon. A big thanks to Mr. Jim Honeycutt, who some of your siblings or older children may have had as a Staples media teacher back in the day and is filming the program. As far as our plan for tonight, you'll now hear from each of the school counselors regarding aspects of the college search and application process, followed by one of our current seniors who will speak about her experience over the past year or so. Unfortunately, one couldn't make it because she's homesick. Then, instead of traveling to breakout sessions, as some of you may remember from previous years, if you have older children, we'll close with a question and answer opportunity here in the auditorium. Up on the screen, you'll see a phone number that you may want to jot down. You can use this number to text in any questions that come up for you during the presentation. Then we'll do our best to answer them during our question and answer session at the end. I realize that it's small without the bigger screen behind us on the stage, so for those who in the back and can't read it, the phone number is 205-546-1405. So thanks and enjoy.
Hi everyone, I'm Trish Howells, one of the school counselors. While most of the students at Staples High School do attend a four-year college, we do want to, thank you. We also want to acknowledge, just before we get started, that there are a variety of post-high school options, not just the four-year college route. We appreciate that every student has his or her own individual path, and the Westport Public Schools strategic goal plan includes creating approaches that honor all pathways to success and not just the four-year college. As your son or daughter's counselors, we are well equipped to assist with planning for their future after high school, no matter their course of choice. And this slide here includes many of those options. So if anything on here looks interesting, or any student here or parent here has any questions about post-high school options outside of a four-year college path, then just have that conversation with your counselor and we can help you and direct you in the right way. That being said, the reason that we do focus primarily on the college planning and preparation is because 95% of Staples High School students do attend a four-year college. While planning for college may sound daunting, we want you to know that 88% of our 2019 graduates reported being satisfied or highly satisfied with their admissions results. Our students go on to attend large, small, public, private, in-state and out-of-state schools. There's an appropriate choice for all students, and we are excited to help your child prepare for life after high school. These schools were the most attended by Staples students last year, but also note that our students did apply to 408 different colleges and universities. So while your son or daughter, or even you among your friends, may hear of a couple of different, maybe a limited number of university names and college names, please know that students do apply to several hundred different schools across the country and internationally. So what goes into developing a college list? While many families may want to focus on colleges, rank and slow activity, it is so important to consider many additional factors that go into developing a list of schools. We encourage you to think about the size of a school. Will you learn best in a large lecture hall style class or in a small discussion-based seminar setting? Think about the location. Do you want to drive home for a short holiday weekend and have accessibility to family and friends at home, or are you okay flying across country and maybe being home once or twice throughout the school year? Also consider the cost of travel when you do consider a school out in California or Texas or somewhere where you need to fly to get there. Think about the overall costs. Think about the overall cost in general for the school. Now is the time to have an open conversation among your family about the college costs. It's important to do this now before you get attached to a list of schools that may not be affordable. And if you come away with loans, what is the size loan you are willing to pay back for 10 years after you graduate? Will you consider your master's degree or a PhD, and what are the costs associated with those after your undergraduate degree? Think about majors, sports, and any specific program you'd like to explore while in a college of your choice. To start, we strongly suggest that students take tours of local campuses, even if these are ones that they won't apply to, just to get a feel for what is a good fit for you. For instance, visit Fairfield University in a suburban town, then go to NYU in the city, and maybe UConn, a large public school in a rural setting. Building a list of colleges goes much further than a name and a rank. Of these schools you research, one of them will be your home away from home for 4 years, so it's important to find schools that fit who you are and how you learn best. As we build this list, we encourage you to have what we call a balanced list. This means you will ultimately have a nice combination of reach, target, and likely schools. When you begin, you can easily have 15 to 20 schools that you'd like to visit and do some research. Our goal for you is to come back in the fall with about 8 schools that you're sure you want to apply to. Of these, we would recommend maybe 2 be in the reach category, and 2 be in the likely category, and then 4, or most of your schools, be in that target category. The most important thing to keep in mind is that of the 8 schools you apply to, you know and feel that you will want to attend each of these schools if you are admitted. Don't start with investing all of your time and energy into just the reach schools and then later adding a few likely schools without any thought. We urge you to put equal thought and effort into campus visits, contact, research, and finally the application for all the schools on your list. If you have a balanced list, we are very confident you will have very positive results. This is an exciting time for you, and we are looking so forward to helping you get started building a well-balanced list of schools that are the right fit for you.
Hi, everyone. My name is Sarah McGilnick. I'm a school counselor here at Staples. And today I'm going to be talking to you about college visits. So why is a college visit important? This is important for various reasons, one of which being that your student will be able to see different campuses and experience what they're like in person and find the right fit for them. So it allows them to meet with current students on campus and hear about their experiences, tour classrooms, check out the dorms, and see the dining facilities. They can really get a feel of the school in a way that pictures cannot really convey. So for college visits, call ahead and check the websites to schedule an appointment for the campus visit. Students should ask questions to the tour guides and other students on campus. That's really a great way for them to find out information. Students are also allowed to take 2 pre-planned excused college visit days per year. So really take advantage of that, being able to see a school that you might not think about considering, knowing that you're able to take 2 days. School breaks are also great times to visit if you're trying to go visit a school that's farther away. Some schools also offer interviews on campus, which is a great way to find out some more information and for them to get to know you a little bit. So next, Naviance Student. So this is a tool that we use for career planning as well as college planning. So students have one username and password that parents and students share. If you misplace your username or password, you can contact our College and Career Center, but they also just updated their system where you can actually reset your password yourself. So there's a link that you can follow and it will send you an email. If you're still having trouble, please feel free to reach out to our College and Career Center. Recently, we had a parent program at the library where Mr. Tom Brown gave a presentation on Naviance, and that's actually posted on our website. So if you've missed that presentation, please feel free to go and watch that video. That gives you steps of how to use our Supermatch tool as well as our Naviance program. Our students, we've also done a lesson with Supermatch. So this is a tool where you can really take a look at the different options that universities have, various things that Trish had mentioned about cost, size, distance. You can sort and filter schools based on your student's preference and start compiling a list that way. So Naviance also includes both GPAs, so we typically would advise that you use the academic or our weighted GPA. That's what we use when we are informing schools of that number. So the College and Career Center, this is a wonderful tool that you and your students can use. So our College and Career office is located in the guidance suite. So when you come in our doors, it's to the left down the hallway. So this is open during the school day. There are no appointments that are necessary for students, so anytime that they want to come down, they are more than welcome to pop in. So there are computers available for college and career search in our office if your student comes down and doesn't have their computer with them. We also have a guidance library in our suite that has various resources on topics such as social and emotional learning, career, college, and financial aid resources. Some of these books would include Raising Resilient Children, How to Talk so kids will listen, and Listen so kids will talk. So if you have some time or your student wants to come down, please feel free to come and check out our resources. We also have a job bank and working papers. So our job bank is located on our website. So if you go to the guidance website, it's under the College and Career Center. You can also have your student come down to our center and meet with Ms. Ziegler. She would be more than happy to assist with students looking for jobs. And these are specifically for people who have reached out to us who are specifically looking for students to come and do whether odd jobs or other odds and ends. So that's typically posted through the job bank on our website as well. And working papers as well. So once a student is hired by a job, they can come to the College and Career Center and get their working papers. So these would serve as proof of employment. So scholarships and application, as well as financial aid information. So sometime during the winter of your student's senior year, the College and Career Center hosts a scholarship workshop. Additionally, students who need help completing the FAFSA and understanding financial aid options can also visit the College and Career Center at any time. Ms. Ziegler offers one-on-one assistance as well as small group assistance. We also offer college rep visits. So this typically happens in the fall of every year. We have university admissions officers come to our school at scheduled times, and the appointments are usually listed on Naviance, where students can also get their pass to come down as well. But they can check in with the College and Career Center about when those visits are happening. Also, exploring post-high school options. So as we mentioned before, there are various options as well as four-year options. So in the springtime, we will be having a post-high school options fair. So this would be held during the lunch waves, and it would be in the College and Career Center. So we would invite community colleges, technical school representatives, and other programs to come and talk about post-high school options outside of the four-year options that we typically cover. A couple of additional workshops that we do offer. We have a Common App and Coalition workshop, and in the spring we have an essay writing workshop, which is offered where local admissions officers come and provide some assistance.
Good evening. My name is PJ Washenko, and I'm going to talk to you a little bit about what colleges consider for the review. As you can see, there's a lot that's taken under consideration when a college is reviewing an admissions application. It first starting off, it's academic grades within the classes that your students are going to be enrolled in. What have they taken over the course of their 4 years? How did they perform in those classes over the course of those 4 years? Has there been consistent achievement, or maybe if there was a slow start, was there an improvement over the course of those 4 years? So the colleges will use it as their initial academic review of the students, just to see, again, how are they in the classroom. What they're also going to be considering is, how did they challenge themselves within Staples? There's a lot to offer here that colleges like to see. Did they take advantage of what Staples has to offer? If they're interested in becoming an architect, did they take the appropriate classes within the classroom setting? Did they do a drawing class? Maybe did they take tech ed? Classes that maybe kind of fit with that type of interest, that, again, they were able to kind of develop the skills they need to perform well within that field once they get off to the college setting. Standardized test scores, an SAT, ACT, something that is also, taken into account for this review. The personal essay within the college application, what's the student's story? So you students out there, what do you want them to know about you? What's the takeaway from the application? What are some of the things that you feel like aren't necessarily represented within the application that you can tell within, or they could read about it within the college essay? So this admissions officer, who many times has never met you before, can really have some nice takeaways from reading that essay, so they can kind of know who the person is that they would be reviewing or accepting within their community. How have you been involved at Staples? This could be clubs, this could be sports, this could be work within the community as well. What are the things you do in your spare time? So if you have that time to be able to explore outside the classroom, whether it be on an athletics field, within the community, through work, volunteer opportunities, that's something that tells a little bit more about you as a person as well. Time management, can you balance multiple responsibilities? So that's something that, a college can look at as part of their review. Recommendations, which I'm going to talk about in a little bit. Demonstrated interest. This could come in the form of, did they attend a info session that was held at Staples in the fall of senior year? Did they come to the college fair? Was there a visit on campus? Was there ever any kind of reach out where they emailed or made a phone call to ask a question that they couldn't find on the website? So students are able to do this to reach out to the rep and try to get some information that shows that they're taking the time and making the effort to make sure they're making the right decisions for themselves. So when it comes time to apply, the student has all the right information to make sure that's the right fit school for them. So that's showing that demonstrated interest. Interview, which Ms. McGillnick talked about a little bit. Some schools, they had this as a part that you students can actually request as being part of your review. You go online, request an interview with maybe an alumni or admissions rep. You sit down and have a half-hour, 45-minute conversation with somebody to tell them more about yourselves or why you're a good fit for the school. In other cases, a college might reach out to you to say, hey, we want to sit down with you to get some more information. So everybody's going to be a little bit different for how they handle that. So it's important to make sure that when you're on colleges' websites, you can see, is that something you can request? Is that something that they have to reach out to you, or is it something that's even offered at all? Financial need, specialty interests or special talent. So if you're a performer, an artist, singer, whatever it might be, there might be an extra piece to your review process. So you might have to do an audition or portfolio or something in addition to an admissions application. So that's another piece that could weigh heavily within a review. If you can perform, you feel like you have the skills and the abilities to be very successful within that field, and that's something that weighs heavily for that particular school, that's something that can be a pretty good determining factor. So there's a lot of different things they look at. I would like to think that most importantly for you students, it's going to be, what best represents you as a person, as a student. We want that to be shown over your course of your 4 years at Staples. Did you perform well within the classroom? Do you feel like you challenged yourself? Did you get involved with the right activities that met your personal interests? Do you feel like once that time comes for senior year and you're putting together an application that you made the most of your 4 years, and when someone who's going to be reviewing your application, they're going to see that and say, okay, I feel like I have a pretty good sense of who this person is, and again, do they fit in our community? So that's the most important takeaway you should have with, things to consider, things that you can kind of show those schools. So the next slide is going to show a transcript. So this is a sample transcript for a Staples student that we have here. So you can see there's an academic and an overall GPA at the bottom. You can probably see it better in the handout. The academic is the weighted GPA that takes into account the 5 core academic classes: English, Math, Science, Social Studies, and World Language, and the levels associated with those classes. So that's how the academic is calculated. The overall is unweighted, includes everything, academic and elective, arts, PE, whatever it might be. It's all put into one, but with no levels tied into it anymore. We have both GPAs on the transcript because we feel it shows the two differences, but also a college can use them for what it's worth. If they feel the academic is more important because that's what they want to focus on, it's there. If they feel like they want to look at the overall kind of full student, it's there as well. You might also have a college that says, you know what, we're just going to recalculate GPAs altogether because how Staples calculates their GPA is different from how a school in Texas does versus a school in California. So they might have their own system to plug in grades, levels, classes, and come out with a more universal GPA so they can compare students better when it comes time for review. The quarterly report cards, so the ones you just got back end of October, the ones you'll be getting probably end of January, that's just a in the quarter GPA unweighted. It will look different most likely from what you see on the transcript. Transcripts update at the end of each semester. Report cards are just quarterly unweighted GPAs, not cumulative, so it won't take into account what you did for quarter 1, just quarter 2 for this coming report card that's going to be coming out in the next month. We get that question a lot. I got my report card back. It looks my GPA is different, or it's not. My transcript says this. My report card GPA says that. It's accurate. That's the way it's supposed to be because one's cumulative, one's not. One's weighted, one's not. So just keep that in mind when you're looking at the information that comes in. And Naviance does hold to both of the GPAs within the system, so that's something that should be represented within Naviance. So that's there just to kind of confirm you need to look at it. So for the senior year course selection and scheduling, so this is something that is going to be coming around the corner after midterms. The program of studies is going to be posted on our website fairly soon, next few weeks or so, which is going to have all the course descriptions. And all the outlines, the 4-year planners, everything you need just to kind of have the information for planning for senior year. Teacher recommendations are going to be going in at the end of January as well. So at some point you'll be able to see those within your PowerSchool account and see what you're being recommended for by your teachers to then kind of start to generate an idea of what kind of schedule you want to take for senior year. We want you to take the time to look at the classes, some classes you haven't been able to take yet, so we want to make sure that you're picking the classes that fit your interests, fit your needs, meet your graduation requirements as well. And again, you can start to input your requests within the PowerSchool system and then have conversations with your counselor to make sure that you have everything you need, it is in place, it is appropriate. There's one thing for classes that might look impressive on paper, but at the same time, is it appropriate for what you can do given it's going to be senior year, you're going to have applications you got to do, essays, extracurricular involvements, just being a senior in the fall, we want to make sure that you still have that balance. So you got to take all that into consideration when building the schedule. And we'll make sure that you meet all your graduation requirements as well. But the course request process does need to be finalized by the end of March. We need it to close at some point because we have to build a master schedule to make sure we can meet the needs of as many students as possible. So we will not take any changes to requests after the deadline. So it's going to be set in stone after that March deadline to make sure that we have accurate information so we can build a proper master schedule. And lastly, teacher recommendations and council recommendations. So going into second semester, this is, that's going to be the time, springtime, that you're going to start to think about maybe 1 or 2 junior year teachers, ideally junior year teachers, because it's going to be a more accurate picture of your ability as a student versus, maybe a teacher you had as a freshman or as a sophomore. So you want to think about a teacher that knows you best. You want to think about a teacher that can speak to your abilities within the classroom, your interests, your enthusiasm, your engagement, your ability to work well with others, take directions well, whatever it might be, just to make sure that as a student, that college will really know how you can perform within their classes once you're there. At the most, we're seeing a college might require 2 letters of recommendation. Some only require 1. We have some colleges out there that don't want any. They'll just look at the transcript, the essay, the application, and maybe test scores as well. So it's important to look at what your colleges need to make sure you're asking for the right ones. And again, to play it safe too at the most. You shouldn't ask 3, just because, especially 3 Staples teachers, because there's a limited amount of teachers for junior year, and there's a lot of juniors that are going to be in that class. So if you start asking 3 teachers for recommendations, you might be taking away letters from other students, not knowing it, because that teacher might only write 20 letters or 25, and they're writing more letters than they should, and it can't go out. All the students that need those letters can't get them because there was too many requests that went out. If there is a 3rd letter, ideally it's not from a Staples teacher, it's from an outside person, maybe a coach, employer, advisor, whatever it might be, someone that you feel can really share some extra information about you as a person, as a group leader, as an athlete, or as an employee that you feel like isn't represented within the application, and that letter can add to the review. So some schools will allow that, some schools don't even want to see that. So again, you kind of see what they're looking for, and they have all this on their website, and it's information that we could try to help you find as well once we start to get further into that process. For the counselor letter, we talk more about you as a whole person. So we want to talk about personality, interests, motivations, involvement, everything that makes you within the last 4 years of Staples. So it's going to be really important that, that we share that information that you want them to have about you. We talk to the admissions reps a lot. We have a pretty good sense of what they're looking for. So if you give us everything that you have or everything that you want to share, we'll be able to put that into our letter to best represent you as a student within the classroom, as a person within this community, and as a viable candidate for school and for admissions. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Tom Brown, and I just want to add quickly for what PJ was just talking about for the counselor letter. Please come see your counselor, and please come talk to us and let us know what you're doing in your lives. It's really a bummer when I don't find out until I'm writing your letter and reading the stuff that you give me at the beginning of your senior year, that you've been playing a sport this whole time and you never told me, or that you've been doing something else really fun outside I didn't know. So it really is fun for you to come talk to our counselors and get to know us so that we can write really good letters for you. Anyway, I'm going to put that aside, and I'm going to go on to probably the most exciting part of college admissions, SAT and ACT standardized testing. I know that students can't stop thinking about this because it's pretty much all anybody ever asks me about when I'm outside of school. When should I take the SAT? When should I take the ACT? Should I take both? Which should I take? How many times should I take it? What score is a good score? What score is a bad score? What do I need to get into this school? 100,000 questions. So every answer is going to be different for every student. The moral of the story is you really need to spend some time looking at the requirements of every college, and the best place to do that is going to be on the college's websites. Places like Naviance is really helpful for the basic general information, but when you need to know the specific requirements of every school, you need to look at their websites. Subject tests are a great example of that. The subject tests are subject specific, they're 1 hour long, and they're required by very few schools in this country anymore. And we have a lot of students that like to take them. A lot of students that probably never use it, but they want to make sure that they have those available. But if you look at what's on the websites for the schools you're interested in and look at what's actually required, you can save yourself a lot of energy, time, money that you don't have to be taking those tests. As far as the SAT, ACT go, those are pretty comparable. They're different in the style of how the test works. So I think a lot of students, it comes down to their comfort as to which one they enjoy more, how they like the phrasing of the questions, the pace of the test. So a lot of our students will either take a practice of both or will take a full test of both and then decide which one they like more and take that one 2, maybe 3 times to get their optimal score. Both tests are offered many times. SAT, we are a testing site for at Staples High School. The ACT, we are not. So the ACT, you'd have to take that at different schools, important note. For both of these tests, it's really important to maintain organization. As you can see, there's lots of test dates, but if you're a student who's taking, say, an AP class, the May 2nd and, well, probably just the May 2nd for the SAT probably isn't going to be your optimal choice because you're right in the middle of AP exams. So it's good to think about those things as like final exams are going to be probably around June 13th, June 6th. That's another time you don't necessarily want to be sitting for the SAT, ACT. So looking ahead and planning out the year and figuring out what the best time to take these tests is really important. For students with accommodations, it's also important to take that in consideration. If you have received accommodations more recently, you need to remind your counselor and let us know so that we can apply so you can have those for the standardized tests. It doesn't happen automatically. We as counselors have to put that in. And then the ACT specifically, it's very important. You have to tell us every time you're going to take it because we have to reapply basically for those accommodations for each time you take that test. That's only for students that use accommodations in their testing, but important to note nevertheless. So there are some areas in college admissions that have unique aspects to them. One of those is visual and performing arts. So what that means is the application process, if you're planning on pursuing visual or performing arts in college, is going to be different. There's going to be extra steps, and there's going to be more time involved in your application process. So where you may have to just submit an essay and your transcript as part of a normal application, for visual performing arts, you're going to have to audition, you're going to have to do recordings, you're going to have to submit a portfolio, you're probably going to have more one-on-one time talking with people from the college or university. So it's really important if that's something that you're considering to pursue, one, to let your counselor know so that we can advise you properly, and two, start earlier and start planning earlier so that you have more time to get everything done that you need to do. And definitely use your teachers as resources in this school. If you're an art student, our art teachers are more than happy and capable to help you put together a portfolio. If you're a theater or a musician, our director and our choral directors, they're all very, very capable as well of helping you put together audition tapes and prepare pieces so that you can have the best shot at applying to those schools. Another example of a specific application process is athletics and students that are athletes. So this could go in the form of being recruited, which is what most people think of as far as D1 schools, and sometimes D3 and D2, but mostly D1 is going to be doing the full recruitment. D3 as well, students are going to be spending more time in their application process. You're going to have to plan meetings with coaches, going to visit the teams. A lot of times you'll spend a full day on campus because that's part of their process of introducing you to their sport atmosphere. So it's important to take that into consideration again for timing and planning is really what it comes down to, and letting your counselor know. For example, when we do the course selection that's going to be coming up in the next month or two, there's a really important piece of that you're meeting all the requirements of NCAA, the National College Athletics Association, so close. So that we are making sure that you're meeting all of their requirements as well as the Staples High School graduation requirements. That's what allows you to be eligible to play athletics at the college level for Division I, Division II. Division III, anyone can do that. You're good. Cool. And there's tons of information on the guidance website for everything that I just talked about. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. My name is Melissa Peterson, and I'm the school counseling intern for the year. So students who wish to ask for academic accommodations at the college or university level should initially make themselves aware of what I'm about to talk about. So current Staples High School students who receive accommodations in school by way of a formalized plan, such as an IEP, ESOL, or Section 504 plan, should take the time to consider whether it will be appropriate to ask for and utilize such accommodations at the college level. At the college and university level, students must self-identify and provide relevant documentation to the Disability Resource Center, and the primary responsibility for self-advocacy and arranging these accommodations belongs to the student. So that's important to know. This is different from the high school because at the high school, a student is identified by the school and supported by parents and teachers, and the primary responsibility for arranging accommodations belongs to the school. A good next step is to visit the Staples High School website and download or print the learning differences and the Post-High School Planning Process Guide. This document provides detailed information that you can tailor to your own needs, should this be appropriate for you. This guide will also expand upon understanding the differences between high school and college support services, as well as the different levels of support potentially offered at each college or university. We're also going to have more information. We'll have a presentation on the myths, truths, and recommendations for college-bound students with IEPs or 504s on Monday, March 23rd at 6:30, so look out for that. In general, there are 3 levels of support. So the most comprehensive level of support usually, but not always, requires a separate application other than the general admission application and an additional fee. Once accepted, the students have access to a full support staff and could be monitored frequently. Proactive and structured support is usually individualized and laid out for each student's needs. So 2 examples of comprehensive support programs are the Marist College's Learning Support Program and the Strategic Alternative Learning Techniques Center, it's a mouthful, also known as the SALT Center at the University of Arizona. A program with moderate levels of support are less structured than the comprehensive. This less structured level of support is offered to students who have already been admitted to a college or university. A college can potentially offer an array of services once documentation is provided and the admitted student self-refers to the Office of Disabilities. Most, if not all, colleges and universities have an Office of Disabilities and can offer some level of support. Each college, however, will differ, and it is up to you to research in advance the office staff to student ratios and what accommodations that they offer. Minimal level of support is typically offered to all students, so these usually come in form of a writing center, tutoring, career counseling, social emotional counseling, and health center, and there's so much more out there. Sorry, that was a little too fast. So if you're a student who feels it'll be important or necessary to carry your current accommodations to college, I suggest that you add a column to your spreadsheet or your organizational chart to reflect the level of support services versus your own needs. Just a quick fact, research does show that students with learning disabilities who attend academic support centers were more likely to have higher grades and to have higher rates of retention at college. Now you can turn. So we're gonna have a college financial aid night application workshop in September 2020. FAFSA is required by all colleges, and it's available starting October 1st. It's important to note for the class of 2021, that will be you guys, that you'll need to use the 2019 tax returns to fill out the application. You can also refer to our guidance website and watch the video that was recorded last year on how to fill out the FAFSA. Like Mrs. Howells briefly mentioned, we advise that you and your child have an honest family conversation about finances, considering the full 4-year cost of college. Having this conversation early on will help decrease any miscommunication, surprises, and disappointment in your child's application process. We would hate to have your child apply and get into a college or university only to find out that they didn't receive a lot of merit aid and can't financially afford the cost. With that said, it's good to have some financial safety schools on the student's college list as well. Lastly, most scholarship applications will be available during senior year, so we advise students to check Naviance frequently when that time comes. For any students, if the fees for submitting college applications, taking standardized tests, and sending scores or transcript requests presents a true financial hardship for your family, please have your child come see his or her counselor. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Deb Slocum. I want everybody to just take a deep breath. You're going to be doing, and I highly recommend you do a lot of this over the next year and a half. Junior year has earned a reputation as the most challenging year for students emotionally. much less the parents, largely connected to the college admissions process. Some stress actually serves as a motivator and is healthy, but too much results in the current high rates of anxiety and depression that we are seeing in students. The reality is there's an extraordinary range of college choices out there for Staples students. Based on the guidance department's many years of experience, trust us when we tell you that if a Staples student works reasonably hard and plans realistically, they will have choices. Staples students apply to over 450 colleges and attend over 170, not 25 of them. However, it takes commitment to remain focused on the right fit based on a student's personality, interests, and family finances. When parents are regularly surrounded by the incessant cocktail and sideline college chatter. Likewise, students fall victim to the rumors and unconfirmed anecdotes that may make their way around the cafeteria. The truth is, everyone you talk to, as soon as they hear you have a junior or you are a junior, has their opinion on what you should be doing in your process right now. It's very tiring. So once on this path, the search for a list of realistic colleges where students will thrive and fit in academically and socially can get lost in the elbowing to be accepted into a small number of highly selective colleges. This occurs despite statistical evidence that it's not where one attends college, but what one makes of the experience that predicts future success. To help students and parents combat the seductive but questionable advice offered daily, not only from media publications, blogs, and experts, but also from relatives and friends, I'm going to share what the guidance department has learned that can help families keep the college admissions process in perspective. Number one, a healthy mindset is critical. For students, don't waste time regretting who you are not and embrace who you are. For parents, help your student to define the most important characteristics of a good college match. Is it major, location, college personality, surroundings? No one college is right for everyone. If parents and families operate from a grounded and realistic perspective, it will all flow from there. Number two, keep your information private. I know, seems insane in this world of social media. But it's okay to dodge the endless inquiries about where your child's applying and what their GPA is and have they taken the SAT and the ACT. So to lessen the stress, we recommend you simply say, we're working on it. Decided to keep our information private. They'll probably ask a second or third time, I've heard from kids, but keep just saying it over and over again and they will get the message. Stay organized and use the incredible amounts of resources we provide. Through our guidebooks, reminder emails, and videos, we provide a wealth of timelines and researched information that provides a developmentally appropriate structure and breaks a sometimes overwhelming process into manageable chunks. Students, when you feel panic taking over because your best friend has already written his college essay or taken the ACT twice, know that earlier is not better in this process. To keep it simple, for example, use the slide that was before this one on what to focus on for the second semester of this year. Another tough one, avoid the endless media obsession with admission at the top-tier colleges. The truth is that no one, no matter how much they're paid, can predict if a student will be accepted at a given college. Single-digit admission rates at the most selective colleges mean no one is guaranteed admission. The unvarnished truth, college admissions is a business. If you accept that from day one and don't take things personally, life will be a lot easier. Colleges are looking for a mix of diversity and special talent, so students on campus will have a rich experience, making it even more challenging to decide whether a student will be accepted or not. That said, never forget that with 3,000 colleges on offer, not even counting abroad options, there's literally more than one college for everyone, and the large majority of colleges have admit rates in the double digits. Choosing to focus only on a handful of schools guarantees stress and uncertainty. Number 5, and maybe most importantly, do not allow this process to overtake your family life. Set a time once a week to review the college to-do list. If the process bleeds into every conversation and every text and email exchange, I guarantee you that boredom and irritability are inevitable, and your kids will hit what I call the off switch. Were you talking to me? Because you just said it for the 100th time, and I don't hear you anymore. Underlying all the agonizing over college choices is an often unacknowledged developmental process. Students are getting ready to leave the nest and to leave behind the controlled, carefully planned schooling they've experienced thus far. The future is unknown, so concern is to some degree normal. For parents and students alike, it's often easier to focus on the nuts and bolts of college than on the uncertainty of the future. Holding on to family traditions, relaxed time together, and engaging in conversations on topics other than admissions has never been more important. As the parent of 2 children in their 20s, I can guarantee that this process will eventually be put into perspective as just one more big transition. Once you leave Staples, you are amazed by how small a role getting into the right college matters. So students, make sure to spend time doing what matters most to you. That is where your high school memories will be formed. Parents, while helping your child stay organized as necessary, do not let the college process rob your family as well of what is left of high school, especially in pursuit of the elusive Holy Grail, that perfect college that simply does not exist. Let home be the safe shoreline where they are loved and can take a break from the endless round of judgments. Thank you.
So just a little preview as far as what's to come. Starting on the first day of second semester, January 23rd, counselors will begin meeting individually with juniors and their families. Here, students should be prepared to discuss their transcript to date and senior year courses, meaningful outside activities that you may be part of and can inform us about, potential college and career interests, developing an appropriate standardized testing schedule, teacher recommendations up for consideration, and any financial concerns that it's important for us to be aware of as well. Even if it's just a rough sketch of some possibilities, it's very helpful for the conversation if you bring an initial list of colleges to this meeting that you've been considering. That could be something that was generated from Naviance or you have from other sources, but something that we can use as a starting point. We really enjoy these conversations, and meetings is a great way to further get to know you and talk about what planning steps it makes sense to take next, no matter where you are in terms of starting to think about life after high school. Students, you should not schedule these appointments through your counselor's Google Calendar as you normally would for an appointment with us. Instead, parents should contact our guidance secretary, Mrs. Fran Gerasi. She'll look up your child's schedule and their counselor's schedule to find a time during their free period and make sure that we have enough time allotted for the meeting. These meetings are held during the school day only. Some students and families are ready and eager to meet in January or February, and if that's you, you can call our office in the next few days to schedule something for early and second semester. But some students are not quite there yet, and it's perfectly fine to hold off until the spring to meet. Our website has our full slate of programs listed out through the rest of the school year, as well as resources and videos from past presentations that you may want to view. As you can see, we do offer quite a bit during the spring that we encourage you to take advantage of, in addition to the ongoing communication that we'll be sending.
Hi, my name is Sandra Ziegler, and I'm the College and Career Center Coordinator. And I'd like to introduce you to one of our student ambassadors, Miss Chloe Delgado. She's going to talk a little bit about her college search process.
Hi, I'm Chloe Delgado, and I'm a senior. Yesterday, I committed to UMass Amherst, thank you. So I've been through this process really recently, so I think I'll be a good judge to speak of everything. It's not as stressful as it seems right now, I know there's so much that feels like you have to do right now, but it's so fine if you're unsure of what you want to do or where you want to go, or if you even want to go to college. Sometimes that's not the plan for everyone, and that's okay. Staples is a pressure cooker sometimes, and it's the norm that people take APs and go to college and take the SAT, but if that's not for you and you know that, that's okay. So there's a lot of talk about the college list that you come up with, and what made it easier for me was first I sort of decided the region that I wanted to be in, and I knew I wanted to stay in the Northeast, so immediately that narrowed down a bunch of schools. And they're just things that were important to you. Personally, I wanted a big school, I wanted a school with Greek life, and if you have a major that's specific and you need a specific program, that's something important to look at too. And then visiting the schools are really important, not just for showing the school that you're interested in them, but just getting the vibe of the campus and seeing students on campus when the school's in session and seeing if you can see yourself within the population of students and knowing that's where you can see yourself next year and if you want to go there. As for the process, there were a few things that I found that were easier and just made the whole thing easier once school started. So I highly recommend writing your essay over the summer. Schedule time, make a schedule for yourself. Each week, write a little bit, even if it's just a half hour a week. If you knock your essay out of the way early, it takes so much stress off when you start senior year. I promise you that. This is actually a problem that I had with my essay, is that when you're writing personally, you get very attached to your words. And that was something that I struggled with a lot. And you're gonna have a 650 word limit. So chances are you're gonna be way over like I was. And it was a hard time editing because every time my mom would say this sentence needs to go, I got defensive because they were my words and I loved them and it felt like a stab in the heart. So really, even though it's a sentence that you might love, and I promise you, I bet it's written very well, but at some point you just gotta cut it and be concise and it'll be fine. I wrote my essay and then I edited it down to a 650 word count, and it was one that I liked. I wasn't in love with it, but I had one just in case I didn't make the deadline with a second one that I was already writing. So just in case, have one that you're okay with and you're happy with if you need to send it in, and then you can work on another one and not be so stressed about it. Because sometimes when you're stressed, the words don't come and you get so pressured and you can't focus, and that's something that happened to me, and so I found that easier. If you don't apply early anywhere, that's so fine. Not everybody is ready to ED to a school where it's binding. You might not be in love with a school, and that's okay. If you're not ready to apply early and you just want to apply regular decision in January to give you a little more time, that's so okay. Again, it's the Staples culture of having to do everything early, but we heard before that early doesn't mean better, it's the process for you. And the process of your friend or your sibling is not gonna be the same process that you're facing. And once you realize that this is my process, these are my colleges that I'm looking at, you'll be fine. You won't care what anybody else is doing or where anybody else got accepted. And then the last few things are just because you might not be looking at the best schools or Ivy Leagues, that doesn't mean the school isn't as good as a school somebody else is going to. It matters what you want to do there. You might get accepted into one of the top schools academically, but that doesn't mean you'll like it if you go there. It has to be socially right for you, have what you want extracurricularly, and it has to be your vibe, your right vibe to go there. Try not to get your heart set on any one school, and I know that's so hard once you tour them, but if you have your heart set on a couple, even 2 or 3 is fine, because God forbid if you don't get accepted to your first choice school, you'll be happy anywhere you end up, and in the end, everybody goes where they're supposed to, and you'll be so happy. And even if you're not, you can always transfer, but everyone ends up where they're supposed to be. And then the last thing is that I promise you will be okay and you will make it through. Your parents are here to support you, and I know they're very stressed too, and so are you, and sometimes that stress can get muddled and end up in fights because you're both stressed about the same thing, and it's a lot. But at the end of the day, they love you and they just want to help you, and having a conversation about it helps so much, but you will be okay and you'll get through it, and you'll be so happy when you get accepted into college. That's it. I hope I helped. Okay, bye.
I feel better now. I think UMass made a pretty good choice, don't you? They're going to be very lucky to have you, Chloe, so thank you. So at this point, we're going to move into our question and answer. As we've got a lot of really good ones that have come in, I'm going to invite up 5 of our other school counselors to take a shot at fielding these. Leslie Sporet, Kim Curran, Christine Tallarico, Christina Banks, and Vicky Capozzi. The number again, if you need it, is 205-546 and 1405.
Okay, first question. How important is it to apply ED or EA? Is applying ED looked upon more favorably?
So as Chloe said earlier when she was talking about ED, ED isn't right for everyone. So it really is an individual conversation with your child's counselor about that. Early decision could be helpful in some cases. It could be depending on the school, depending on if it's not too much of a reach. There's a lot of different factors that play into it. We have plenty of students who don't apply ED or EA and are completely fine. I don't know if anyone wants to add to that at all.
I'll add. So early decision really should be an emotional decision as well as a financial decision and an academic decision, of course. If a student gets accepted from their early decision school, they're getting that acceptance most likely in December prior to the holiday break. And they then need to be done. They need to withdraw their applications from other colleges. There is a lot of growth in you kids between December and March. So if you think about it, that early decision application, if it's a yes, it's yours. And so you'll be done, and for many students and families, that is perfect. I'm done, I'm happy, I'm good. Over the years, I've had students who see their friends who then get decisions at the end of March and by April 1, and now have choices. And in between the month of April and May, they're out and about researching and deciding which school they wish to apply to. I'd like to mention something about early action. Early action is a very popular choice for, I want to say, most of our students here at Staples High School. Early action meaning students will put their applications out in the earlier rounds. The decision coming back will not be binding. And if the school is chosen well, a student can have a yes in the early round. So many of our students right now have at least one school that they have a yes to, and they know that they're wanted and have a college that they can go to. So both of these decisions can be beneficial and not necessary. Anybody?
Please clarify how the student gets the first broad list and what will happen at the first meeting with guidance after January 23rd.
Okay, so I think as Mr. Plunkett mentioned at the very end of the presentation, that first meeting that we have with a student and their family is talking about a standardized testing schedule, talking about teacher recommendations, who you might ask, talking about your plans for the summer, because it will be a really good idea to have some sort of structured something to do for the summer, a job, a program that you're excited to go to. Speaking about activities that you do in school and out of school, regions of the country that you'd like to be in possibly, majors that you might be interested in, finances. What did I miss, girls?
And based on that, your counselor will be able to help put together that initial list of schools, so your counselor can recommend schools after that meeting, email you a list of schools to check out. Many of you guys already, might have a list of schools because we went into the PE and health classes and we did the super match. So a lot of you, we had recommended you add schools to your college I'm thinking about list. You might have that initial list and you can look through those schools and bring it in when you meet with your counselor as well.
Okay. So in building that broad list, I like to talk. I beg you students who are in here and folks to read the booklet that we handed out tonight. There's some insight in there as to what you could be thinking about when thinking about what kind of schools or what you would want in a school, just like Chloe mentioned. And utilize Naviance. Utilize the college search, utilize your Do What You Are personality type inventory from grade 9, utilize your career interest inventory from grade 10. Have conversations about parameters. Folks, you folks have power in this process. I don't think your kids are paying this bill, you're paying the bill. So if you have some parameters in regards to finances, location, geography, size, whatever, let your students know now. I promise you they won't be mad at you later if you let them know now.
Please talk about what to write about on the essay. Does the guidance counselor help brainstorm topics?
So I usually speak about this with my students and my families in the initial meeting, and I think you guys probably do as well. The common application, which is a generic application that many students use to apply to college, has specific essay questions. So kids are picking from one of those 6 or 7 topics. So what I will do is I will pull up next year's topics, hand them to my student or family, and you get a chance to start thinking about that and working on that. So yes, we do get you started in that way. We do read them if you need us to read them. We do offer, I think as one of my colleagues said, in the spring, an essay writing workshop. So sometimes it can be as much or as little help as somebody needs. Some of my kids' essays I never read. Some of them I read multiple times.
So piggybacking on that, what is the role of the school counselor during the college process? I know some people use college counselors. What's the difference in the jobs?
You guys didn't ask that question.
I know you want to answer this. So the role of the school counselor is we're here for all of your children, and as Mr. Plunkett was saying, some kids will come in more than others. We're really here to meet with your child as often as they need and would like to. We're here to help with every step of the way. Some kids want that weekly meeting and that to-do list of what they should be working on for the week, and we're happy to do that. So I think it's really individualized for students, but we're here to help with everything. We're reading essays, we're creating to-do lists on what they should be working on and what that timeline is looking like through junior year and senior year. So we're really there through the whole process. I don't know if anyone wants to add.
I'd say probably the biggest difference is we're not available on Sunday afternoon, but we can do absolutely every single step with your child, with you guys. We're here to help, and we're free.
Let me say this, okay? The reality of it is many, I'm not going to say most or all, but many of our students and families will use outside college consultants. And bravo. Please, I beg that if you are going to use people to help outside of school, to make sure, kids, that they do not take away your own voice. Families, you too. Your students should have some ownership of this process. They should be understanding what they're doing, reading, seeing, writing, and be part of the process. Outside college consultants are wonderful if they are talking to you, kids, I'm talking to you kids as well, asking you about your ideas, your values, your wishes, and your folks too, of course. Like I said, your folks have some meat in this process. However, find outside people who have strong morals and ethics around college admissions and will help you understand more about yourself while going through this process, please. What outside college consultants can do that we may not be able to do for you is be there for you every second of every day. I'm available, and I have 9th graders, 10th graders, 11th graders on my caseload, and 12th graders, all who need us for various reasons. As school counselors, yes, college admissions is very much a large part of our job. So is mental health counseling, career counseling, lots of paperwork. So we're here, and we are definitely here, especially for those kids who make themselves available to us instead of waiting for me to put my claws in them. Anything else, guys? Okay.
To what extent does taking many AP classes help in getting into college?
No, you want it? So listen, ready? Students who take AP classes, who belong in AP classes, should take AP classes. Means that they have they're mature in their work ethic, they hand their work in on time on a regular basis, they can accept criticism, be uncomfortable in a class, maybe sometimes receive grades that are not A's or B's and be able to work towards grades that they prefer. Can AP classes look good on a transcript for college? Sure, I'm not going to lie to you. However, if you're in an AP class getting C's, D's, or F's, not handing your work in on time, being chased, at home up until 12, 1, 2 in the morning, crying, stressed, you shouldn't be in that class. AP classes are college-level classes. This is high school. So there needs to be a certain maturity level to do well in those classes. And yet, of course, they could help you in college admissions. And we have many students going to colleges, fine colleges and universities, good colleges, without AP classes.
That's what I was just going to say. I was going to say I have hundreds and hundreds of students who have never taken an AP, never taken an honors class, and they go to college and they go to the right college for them. So it does not necessarily, it's not a must.
So while Ms. Capozzi was talking, I was just thinking of something about course selection and course recommendations from teachers. Many of you have 5 core academic subject teachers. They are making their recommendations for classes next year independent of each other. Okay, so your biology teacher might not know that you got recommended for AP Calculus. Your calculus teacher might not know you got recommended for AP Spanish Lit, and so on. So you may be able to handle 1 or 2 of those. Just because you get recommended for multiple or all doesn't mean you need to take all of those. It's about balance, what you do outside of school, how you can handle stress and your independence and all the things that my colleague said.
So we had a couple of questions that came in about summer academic programs. We're getting a lot of information in the mail about these, email. I know counselors get inundated as well. Sorry. Do you guys have information or recommendations about which of these programs are worth considering? And then there was another related question about the process for requesting letters of reference. For summer programs, if they need them now.
Okay, so in terms of what your child does over the summer, first and foremost, we want to make sure they're doing something that's enjoyable for them and not just something to add to their resume, right? I mean, hopefully they're picking something of interest that relates to something they're interested in and that they're enjoying it. That's the most important thing. In terms of which programs, we always suggest that our students come in and chat with us about it. We can speak to students in the past who've attended certain programs or had a great experience. So we always suggest that you reach out, have your child come in and talk with us, and we can give our feedback on what we've heard.
Let me make a comment about the emails or the information that you're receiving. That's marketing. to tons of marketing, and we get it as well. And marketing works because sometimes I read stuff and I go, oh, that sounds pretty cool. Let me look into that a little more. And I look into something and I'm like, wow, that needs to be, in my file. What Ms. Borre just said is definitely, if your child is seeing something that might be of interest, they should talk to us about it and see if we've even heard of it, or we can look deeper. Again, a student should not be doing a summer program with just the idea of like, this is going to be good for me to get into college. Because we've had students do or that college, correct. We've had students do programs on campuses, apply to those colleges and not get in, thinking that one summer program was going to be the thing to get them in. It's about building life experience in oneself, learning a little bit more about oneself while they're doing these summer programs. And letter of reference, you said something about
Can I say one thing before that? And just to keep in mind too that there are other things to do besides college programs in terms of like community service. Or I attended a conference last year and a prestigious college got up and spoke and said there's something to be said about an old-fashioned job. And there really is a lot to be said. And so that isn't something less than if your child decides to do that. It's actually could be a strength as well. So just keep that in mind.
So on our Staples Guidance website, there is a section for requesting transcripts, and there's 3 lines. There's one for Staples grads, there's one for current Staples students applying to college, and there's a spot for kids applying to private schools or summer programs. That's where you want to click, and when you click, it will open up and give you all of the directions and timelines for us to help with applying to summer programs.
Should teacher recommendations come from academic teachers?
in general, I'm going to say yes. Okay? Unless, or it depends on what, who your child is. So if your child is a theater kid who's thinking about majoring in musical theater or acting or film or whatever after college, perhaps their theater teacher should be writing a letter. It might even be required that one of their arts teacher needs to be writing a letter. At least one academic teacher, at least. When you kids and families sit with us in our meetings, we will help you identify which junior year teachers you'll ask. I actually say to you kids, okay, have you thought about which teachers? And 90% of the times the kids say, yep, blah, 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 and blah, blah, blah. And I say, okay, those are both English teachers. Can you think of a math or a science teacher too? And then I throw the curveball and we have to think a little bit.
I was saying, if you don't have anybody in mind, now would be a good time to start making a good relationship connection. Yeah.
So a few sort of course selection-y kind of questions, things like to what extent does taking a language for 4 versus 3 years help with college admissions? Is it important to take physics like I've heard about? How do you go about making those decisions?
Those are all very, I'd say, individual decisions, and that's what we're here to help your children do and decide based on their interests. If I have a student who I know wants to study nursing, I'm probably going to recommend that they take physics. But if I have a student who has absolutely zero interest in going into any kind of science or engineering or math or business field or anything like that, it's going to be a different conversation. That's why, like what Mr. Brown said, having your kids come in to meet with us so we can get to know them and get to know what they're thinking about for their future. That's really where we can help guide them as to what classes they should be taking in high school. So it really is individual based on the student. I wouldn't say there's a general blanket statement for that.
this is for students. You guys should also be checking, the colleges that you're looking into, their websites for their requirements. Because in general, for world language, usually colleges want, 2 years of a world language. That's what we require. Some recommend 3 or want 3. Really, it depends on the college. You wouldn't want to go take 3 or 4 years of a world language just to exceed the requirement if that's not your thing, if you're not doing well in world language. Right. Maybe if you're a science person, then you'll take more science classes. But it's really important to check the college's websites to make sure that you're meeting their requirements.
Okay. How important are your senior grades and classes?
Very. Can't slack off. They're very important. As part of this process, at the semester mark of senior year, we are required to send out your mid-year transcript to the colleges that you have applied to. It's just a requirement in this process. Some schools are asking for first quarter grades. So it's very important, especially if you haven't had some stellar years and now you're like finally maturing and you're waking up a little bit and realizing like, oh, this stuff matters. So very important. I had a young lady today who was like, I want out of a class. I was like, no. She said, why? I said, because what you signed when you applied. Oh, is that what you were going to say? All right, here.
So choosing courses for next year is important on a lot of levels, and one is what Ms. Capozzi was just starting to say, is when you are applying, you are telling them that you are going to take the classes that they're seeing on your transcript at that time. So usually what we see is an influx of kids coming down, December, January, now, right, looking to get rid of classes that they signed up for. And our answer is what? No.
Well, why? How come? Can't I tell the colleges? And I'm like, well, listen, do you really want my answer? Sure you can. Huge red flag.
Right, so what?
You signed a document that said you were going to complete your schedule as you applied.
Right, so what we say a lot of times is, do you really want to draw that attention to yourself right now in that way?
How important are joining clubs and being an all-around person?
Well, it's important. I think it's important to think about not the number or the quantity of the things that you join, but the quality, right? So what are your child's interests? What do they enjoy doing? What's going to support their future goals, as opposed to how many things? But is that important in the college process? Absolutely. As we showed you earlier in our presentation, the colleges are assessing an application based on a number of different things: recommendations, the application, the essay, your child's involvements. So they're looking at the big picture, and so it's important to be well-rounded. And we don't want any of our students just coming to school and going home at the end of the day.
And there are some reasons why some kids may just come to school and go home at the end of the day if there are work obligations or family obligations. What was the other thing I was going to say?
Work obligations, family obligations could be meaning
taking care of a sibling, getting a sibling off the bus. Mm-hmm. And colleges need everybody, okay? They need the leaders, they need the worker bees, they need the people who have the big ideas, the people who are just gonna go in there and get the job done, so everybody.
So we had a lot of other great questions, and thank you, and please know that this is just the start of the conversation, and through the individual meetings that you'll be having with your counselor, your child's counselor, be able to get to a few sort of quick hits that I could probably answer in 30 seconds or less. Staples does not provide class rank. Very few schools out there still do. None around here, and none that are sort of in our peer group do. So students will not receive a class rank that'll be reported to the colleges. Each school counselor has approximately 45 students per grade level, 9 through 12. All students are required to take the March SAT in school. That date is in the presentation on our calendar. That's already set. March 25th. So there's no need to register for that. They'll automatically be doing that through, well, not really automatic, they'll do that through school. You can still take the March SAT if you really wanted to. It's going to be within a tight window and probably not advisable, but it is something that is possible to do on a Saturday. Somebody asked about viewing the transcript online. You are not able to do that. If you need a copy of your transcript, you can contact either the student, you can come in to see Mrs. Fugit in our office, who is our registrar. She'd be happy to provide either a hard copy or a PDF copy, or we can email one to you. And our scholarships all listed on Naviance. Yes, anything that we're aware of, Ms. Ziegler is keeping a constantly updated list on Naviance, so that's where you can see the most up-to-date listing of any scholarships that are available. So thank you for hanging around, especially on the day after break and everything. We appreciate all that we have the opportunity to do with you guys, and wish you the best of luck through this process. Take care.